Okay, scholars, we're going to do this last problem here, and it says sketch the graph of the following conic, but if you notice, it's a non-standard form. So the first thing you're going to do is we have to take the time using completeness squared to change it into standard form so we could graph it quickly. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your x's together. So I got 4x squared minus 24x, put my y's together, so a negative 9y squared minus 72y. And then we're going to move that negative 72 over to the other side, so it would be 72. And then we're going to do our groupings now. We're going to take out greatest common factor and do completeness squared. So on the very first part, we're going to take out a 4, so we get an x squared minus 6x, and we're going to go plus blank. Plus, then we're going to take out a negative 9, so it's going to be like a minus 9 then, times the quantity y squared plus 8y plus blank. And then we're going to move that over a little bit here so we have a little more space. Here we go. Equals, and then we got 72 plus blank plus blank. So this is like when we talked about ellipses before. Like we're going to do the completing the square inside the parentheses, but then we have to make sure we multiply by the leading coefficient before we add it to the other side. So with this one, we look here, we go negative 6 divided by 2 is a negative 3. A negative 3 squared is going to be a positive 9, and then I go 4 times 9, which is going to be a 36. And then do the same thing here. We take 8, we divide it by 2, it's 4. 4 squared is 16. Then we got to go a negative 9 times 16. What's a negative 9 times 16 here? Should be negative 144. So we end up getting then, when we're working with it, a negative 36 on the right. And then don't worry about this. This is going to take care of itself in a moment. We're going to sit there and go 4 times the quantity. That's going to end up being x minus 3 squared minus 9 times the quantity y plus 4 squared. So we're using the completing the square. But remember, in order for this to happen, we have to divide everything by a negative 36 because it has to equal 1 to be in standard form. So we divide by negative 36. And notice this becomes a negative, the quantity x minus 3 squared over 9. And then we go plus the quantity y plus 4 squared all over 4 is equal to 1. Now, to write this in standard form, the positive has to be first. So that becomes y plus 4 squared all over 4 minus the quantity x minus 3 squared all over 9, which equals 1. Okay, so that is now the standard form. Since y is the front, okay, that means that we're going to be opening up or down. So it's going to be looking like this, our final graph will. We can pull out our center. We know our center. Gotta be careful when you pull this one out, my friends. Remember, actually, I do want to do that. This is going to be h, this is going to be k, right? So that's going to end up being at 3, negative 4. So let's go 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, negative 4 is your center. Now, remember our vertices are solved finding A, okay? So remember A is the distance from the center to your vertices. And we're opening up or down, which means we're going to be going this direction or that direction, A. So what's A going to be? Well, A squared is always underneath the positive x or y squared, so it's under the positive y this time. And so we know A squared is 4, so we know A would be 2. We know B squared is going to be 9, so B would be 3. So first of all, let's get our vertices. So that means with the A, we go up 2 to get a vertex, and we go down 2 to get a vertex. Okay, so we know the vertices. So that's an A distance up and A distance down. So your vertices end up being, and this case would be a negative 4 plus 2, or 3 be negative 4 minus 2. So 3, negative 2, and then we got 3, negative 6. So definitely got those two down there for our vertices. And then we have to use C in order to solve for our foci. Okay, so let's solve for what C is. Now remember, c, my friends, is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c squared is 4 plus 9, so c squared equals 13, so c would equal the square root of 13. Again, we say plus or minus, but we know it means root 13, so that means our distance up. We got to go the square root of 13 up, which would be like 2.2, what is that, 2-ish, let's say second root 13 on my calculator. Yeah, that's, excuse me, not 2.2, it's 3.6-ish, just so we know decimal-wise what we're going to move. That means it has to be up, so it'd be 3, 1, 2, 3.6. There'd be a focus, and then we go 1, 2, 3.6. Down would be our other focus. So there's our foci. So put those down here. You notice the x did not change because we're opening up or down. Now remember, if I was opening left, right, that means the x's would change, but the y would not. So you just kind of have to think about which one's moving. So I got a -4, and I'm going to go plus or minus the square root of 13 to make our lives easier for the foci. Okay, now to graph this, all you're going to have to do now is figure out what b is. Well, b we know is 3. Well, that's from the center, I go 3 right, and I go 3 left. Okay? Now remember, with the vertices, I am making that rectangular box that we can use to make our vertical, or asymptotes, not vertical. We're making our asymptotes. So remember that would go through here at the center, going through, then we go here at the center. So then we got our parabola going down. Our parabola, make sure you touch your vertex and you keep on going. Those are your two parabolas. I mean, well, parabolas is a hyperbola, but it made with two parabolas. Hopefully that kind of gets you guys started on this and helps you be able to finish your homework.